Hello and welcome to Mythic Mind, where we pursue wisdom on the path between primary and secondary worlds. I'm Snyder, and I'm glad that you're here. Hey there everyone, Andrew here. Today I'm going to provide you with the introductory course video and the first grammar lesson for Hannah Gilmore's Introductory Latin course. Already I'm really excited about this course. It just started, but there's still plenty of room for you to enroll. I think that you're going to be able to see from this introductory content that this is going to be a very worthwhile course. And I love all that we have going on in Mythic Mind right now. We've got the Augustine's Confessions. We've got Josh's Paradise Lost course. We've got my philosophy course. We've got Hannah's Latin course. And we just have a very classically oriented ensemble coming together here. And I really hope that you'll be able to partake in at least some of this, if not even all of it, as I know some of you are. And I love that. I love that we're able to do all these amazing things together that Mythic Mind is working on. Now, in particular, I really want to encourage you. Like, if your interest is piqued by this Latin content that's coming up here, then go ahead and enroll in the course. Maybe you have the opportunity to move with us live through this 12-week study, or maybe you just want to have these resources available to go at your own pace. Go enroll in Hannah's course. You can find the link in the show notes here. And also, if you're a Mythic Mind patron, then you can get half off that price. And you can find the recent post on Patreon to get that patron discount. And if you don't know where to find that, then just send me a message and I'll make sure that you get it. But for now, let's go ahead and jump right into Hannah's content. And again, this is her introductory course video, as well as her first grammar lesson. And so let's go ahead and get to it.
Salvete omnes, or hello everyone. I wanted to give an introductory video to the course so that you can go ahead and know what to expect each week of the course for these next 12 weeks. And also, I'm going to be posting this on Patreon. So to those on Patreon, this is going to be a little sneak peek of what the Mythic Mind Introductory Latin course will look like from week to week. So up here you can see I have posted some resources. There will be more posted eventually, but we have vocabulary resources and vocabulary request forms that you can request vocabulary. There will be declension songs and other resources as well. And then in addition to the Google Classroom, which I'm showing you guys right now, there will obviously be the Discord chat and the live meetings, which tentatively will be on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. However, that could change depending on how people in the class are available, so just be aware of that. Okay, so let's look at our lessons. So lesson one's a little shorter because there's less to do. You won't know enough to be able to read a story yet, or to do certain things such as that. So let's actually look at what all the lessons will look like going forward. So this will be lesson 2 onward. So each week you're going to start with the grammar presentation. So I'll have linked both the actual video and I'll have linked the actual presentation so you can go through. So for example, here's the presentation for this lesson. Salvete omnes, and welcome to Introductory Latin. Okay. Next, there will be the lesson vocabulary. So there will be 2 videos. There will be a video going through the regular vocabulary list and a video going through the bonus vocabulary list. And then I'll actually have PDFs of each of those uploaded, which you can see here. And then I'll also have linked the Quizlet sets for the class, which I'll show you guys at the end of this video. Then I'll have cheat sheets on any grammar concepts that were discussed. So this lesson, we're talking about present tense verbs. So I have this cheat sheet right here. There we go. So it'll provide basic information about how to do things. That way, if you don't want to take notes or if you want better notes, then you can use that. There will be independent practice. So for this week, I have 4 different independent practice assignments. And they each have answer keys. The only thing that doesn't have an answer key is this assignment right here. This is the present tense active conjugation self-checking assignment. So for verbs, I'll often have these self-checking spreadsheets. And essentially, I'm not going to provide an answer key because if you type in the right answer, the box turns green. So there's that. So then you'll work through the practice and answer keys, which is independent. I'll actually show you an independent assignment as well. I'll show you an answer key. So for example, we have conjugation practice. Then we have the weekly homework. This is an assignment that I'll actually provide feedback on if you complete it. So for example, here's our lesson 2 homework. It's about 2 pages on average each week. And I try to make it a balance between covering all the grammar concepts, but also not being too much that people couldn't do. Each week you'll also have story translation. So there will be a video of a story, either that I've written initially, and then it'll also be something that eventually, hopefully, will be pulled from actual authentic authors once you guys get advanced enough. Oh, okay. And I'll also link a PDF of the story with footnotes for unknown vocabulary words. Then there'll be the history or culture presentation. So for this week, it's the Roman household. So you can go through this presentation. Let's see if I skip ahead. Will it show different things? Yes, it will. Awesome. So this is a really great part of the class I'm really looking forward to, is getting to talk about aspects of Roman history and culture. So for this week, it's the Roman household. So it'll be talking about roles in the Roman family, but then also the actual design of the household itself. And then we have the weekly project last of all. So in this week, it's a design a Roman home project. So since people in the course will not be able to write full sentences yet at this point in the course, the project is more of a craft type project. However, later on, for example, in lesson 3 and lesson 4, we see actual writing. For example, this is a Mea Familia paragraph, writing a paragraph about your family, and I have instructions and examples for that. So that's what a week will look like on average, looking like lesson 2. You'll see that week 1, there is not a weekly story. There's not any additional practice, and there isn't a project the first week. Your project the first week is to watch this video, to get connected with the community, and check out some of these resources, which I'll have up here. Just to show you the Quizlets, I'm still creating them for the bonus vocabulary, but I have them created for all the regular sets. And I also have a full set created for all the vocabulary, regular vocabulary. And then you can just click these. It's like digital flashcards, and there's also games you can play. So that's just an overview of what the course will look like from week to week. That's what you can expect from each week in about this order. And I recommend you start with the grammar presentation and then do the vocabulary. Then I recommend taking a look at the cheat sheet and the practice and working through those if you have time, then doing the homework. You can also do the story translation at any point after you've done the lesson and the vocabulary, but it is kind of helpful to do it after you really let some of those concepts sink in, so you'll be able to understand the story better. And then you can do also the culture and history presentations and the projects whenever you have the time. These are more supplementary things. So take note of the order that I have them listed. Make sure you do the grammar presentation and vocabulary first, and then make sure you do the homework if you can, because that's something that I'll provide actual feedback on. All right, I hope that this has been a helpful sneak peek at what the course will look like in the future. I'm still adding things to later lessons right now, but so far lessons 1 through 3 are fully completed, so you can already start working through them now. Wale! Salve te omnes, and welcome to our first grammar presentation for the Mythic Mind Introductory Latin course. Today we'll be talking about inflection, nouns, and nominative subject. And for those of you who are already familiar with learning languages, especially Romance languages or other inflected languages, this may be a lot of review for you, and this first week or 2 may feel very slow. For those of you who are unfamiliar with these languages, or just native English speakers, this could be quite difficult, and these could be the hardest weeks of the course. So I've tried to come up with a balanced pace. We're going to be taking it slow these first few weeks and really building up these foundational grammar concepts. So wherever you're at, just know that it'll all be uphill from here. But we had to take things slow and steady at first to really make sure that we're building all our Latin skills on a firm foundation. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first and essential thing that you need to know about Latin is that it's an inflected language. This means that the words in Latin sentence could be in almost any order and still make grammatical sense. English is not an inflected language. English follows a grammatical order to its sentences. Usually it's subject, verb, direct object, which is the noun receiving the action. For example, in the sentence, the dog chased the cat. The dog is our subject, it comes first. chased is our verb, and the cat is the direct object. It's what's being chased. It's what's receiving the action. If we change the order of the sentence a little bit, let's say we put it as the cat chased the dog, the meaning of the sentence changes completely, because now the cat is the subject, chased is the verb still, and the dog is the what is receiving the action. It's what's being chased. What if we put chased first? Chased the dog, the cat. Well, now we don't know what our subject and what our direct object are. Or the same thing with the dog, the cat chased. Once again, it's ambiguous. So English is not inflected. Latin, however, is inflected. Let's look at a sample sentence. Canis fugavit felem. The dog chased the cat. So canis is dog, felem is cat, and fugavit is chased. Okay. What if we shuffled that around? What if we said canis felem fugavit? And if we looked at the order of those words, that's the word for dog, the word for cat, and chased. Dog, cat, chased. Guess what? It still translates as the dog chased the cat. What about fugavit felem canis? Chased cat, dog. It still translates to the dog chased the cat. Okay. What if we just completely swapped dog and cat and put felem fugavit canis? Cat chased dog. It still translates to the dog chased the cat. This is because Latin is an inflected language, which means that the order of a noun in a sentence is irrelevant. It's the endings that tell us what the noun is doing. In this case, the ending on canis and the ending on felem tell us that canis is the subject and felem is the direct object. So it doesn't matter whatever order we switch them around in the sentence, they still translate the same way because the endings tell us their role in the sentence. Let's dive in a little more into what nouns are. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. And this is important to know. Nouns in Latin have a gender, a number, and a case. These three things are very important to remember when you look at any noun. If you're like me when I first started learning Latin, you might be thinking, wait, nouns have a gender? Well, nouns do have a grammatical gender in Latin. This means that all nouns are assigned a gender, and this gender will determine the form of any adjective that's modifying the noun. Latin has three genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. Now, grammatical gender should not be confused with actual gender. Usually, the assigned gender of a word has nothing to do with the word itself. For example, the word for house in Latin, domus, is feminine, and the word for food, cibus, is masculine. There's really no rhyme or reason to it most of the time, so treat grammatical gender as something that you just need to memorize for each noun and keep in mind when using adjectives. Don't think of it in any way as something having anything logically to do with real gender. Now, the next thing besides gender that every noun has is a number, and this should be easy for our English speakers here or speakers of any language because every language has a way of demonstrating number with nouns. It's just whether a noun is singular or plural. So in English, cookie, singular, cookies with an S is plural. And similarly, the endings in Latin tell us whether a noun is singular or plural. Now, the gender of a noun is something you just have to know. The endings won't tell you that. But number is something that the endings will tell you. And also, case is something that the endings will tell you. In English, the role of a noun in a given sentence is shown by its order within the sentence. In Latin, we show the role of nouns by using cases. There are various cases indicated by different endings that we add to nouns. The same noun with a different ending has a different role in the sentence, and different cases allow us to use the same word in different ways within the sentence. For example, the nominative case is used for the subject, and the subject is who or what does the action. We'll be talking about the nominative case later today, but for the sake of this point, if we see a ending that indicates the nominative case, we know that that noun is the subject of the sentence. For example, in the sample sentences earlier, canis had a nominative case ending. So we knew canis, dog, was the subject of the sentence, no matter where it was in the sentence. And similarly, for example, the genitive case is used for possession. So if we see an ending that's a genitive case ending on a noun, we know it must be being used for possession. So that's how case works. Now, unfortunately, this does get a little more complicated because not all nouns follow the same pattern of case endings. Which would be very nice. Instead, every noun follows a specific pattern of endings, known as a declension. The three most common declensions for nouns to follow in Latin are first, second, and third. Declension is determined by the ending of the genitive singular case noun form, which I will explain later. Specifically, you might be thinking, wait, what declension, what's going on. Think of it this way. Every noun, which it'll be given to you in your vocabulary, its endings will clue you into whether it's first, second, or third declension. And that will determine the pattern of endings as follows. So first declension, nominative endings are going to look different than second declension nominative endings are going to look different than third declension nominative endings. So there's 3 sets of endings that you do have to learn specifically for this course. So just be aware this next slide could look a little overwhelming because it's going to be a big chart. I promise it will be much less overwhelming in time. So bear with me. Here are our noun declensions, first, second, and third. First, I want to draw your attention to the left-hand column where we have our cases. These are the 5 main cases in Latin, and that's what we're going to be talking about throughout this course. We have the nominative, the genitive, the dative, the accusative, and the ablative. And each of these cases has its own uses, so when we see an ending that tells us this noun is this case, we know, okay, the noun could be used in this, or this way in the sentence. So for example, if we see a nominative case ending, we know that the noun is going to be used as the subject. So that's what those are doing there. Similarly, you see that for each declension, there's a singular and a plural column. So not only can every noun, ending demonstrate that it's case, it also demonstrates whether it's singular or plural, which means you have to learn 2 nominative case endings for each declension, because you have to learn the singular nominative case ending and the singular plural. You have to learn the singular nominative case ending and the plural nominative case ending. Okay. And also worth knowing is that to learn each of these declensions, there are songs that encompass most of the endings. Now, I will say for the second and third declension, singular nominative, you see US/R/UM. There's multiple options that could be. And for the third declension, there's that question mark, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but it just means that it could be anything. But I am going to sing these songs because I find that music is helpful for me and lots of other people in memorization. So I'm going to sing them now. If this is something that you're interested in using for your own memorization, because you do need to memorize these charts at some point, then I would recommend checking out on the resources tab on the Google Classroom. I will have linked videos with me singing each of these songs so that you can study those. Without further ado, here are our declension songs. First, the first declension song. A-A-E-A-E-A-M, A-A-E-A-R-U-M, I-S-A-S-I-S-2, now the first declension's through. It's time for our second declension song. U-S-I-O-M-O-I-I-R-U-M, I-S-O-S-I-S, that's the second declension. And for the third declension, we kind of skip over the question mark and we start with I-S-I-E-M, E-E-S-U-M, I-P-U-S-E-S, B-U-S. So I'll have those videos linked on Google Classroom so you can listen to them. It's a great way to memorize the songs. That's how I memorized them. But do whatever helps you to memorize them. Okay, those are our declensions. Now let's specifically talk about, okay, how do we figure out what declension a noun is? How do we know whether it follows the first declension pattern of endings, the second declension pattern of endings, or the third declension pattern of endings? Okay, to determine the declension of a noun, every noun in your vocabulary will be given in the following format: singular nominative and comma, singular genitive. And you'll see this in the vocabulary video for this week, which I recommend you watch right after this presentation. For example, the noun femina, comma, feminae, which will be in your vocabulary this week, it means woman, is given in that format. Femina, comma, feminae. And we're going to look at the ending of feminae, that AE, to determine what declension femina is. So declension is determined specifically by the ending of the genitive singular. That's the second form that you receive in your vocabulary. It's the form that follows the comma. Okay, let's look more at this. Okay, so first declension nouns, all the ending pattern A, comma, AE. And specifically looking at our genitive singular ending, it'll be AE. So for example, femina, feminae, that second form, that genitive singular form, ends in AE, so we know that it's a first declension noun. It's going to follow the first declension noun patterns for all the cases. For second declension, the nominative singular could end in US, R, or UM, but our genitive singular will always end in I. For example, wir, vieri, it means man. And we see that it will follow the second declension for all its case endings because its second form right there, vieri, a genitive singular, ends in I instead of ae or is. Third declension will follow the pattern of any ending, question mark, comma, is. For example, we have pater, patris. You think, okay, the first form ends in an R. So couldn't that mean it could be second? No, because it ends in is in that genitive singular form, cluing us in that this is a third declension noun, and it will follow the third declension case endings for all of its forms. So those are the three things to look for. AE, I, and IS in the genitive singular nouns. That's the second form you get in each noun pair. Okay, specifically in this slideshow, we'll talk about the nominative case. The nominative case is used for the subject, and the subject is who or what does the action in a sentence. Here, I have a few exercises for guessing the subject in English. I'm sure you all will be able to do this. Just for the sake of making sure you can do that in English, you can pause the video now and identify the subject, and then continue it to see the answers. Okay, time for the answers. Here are our subjects. And we see that in all of these sentences, the subject is what does the action. For the most part in English, that's the first word of the sentence. In the question, we see the question word comes first. Can someone turn on the lights? But someone is what is turning on the lights. So in all those cases, we see those similarities. Those are the subjects. So now let's talk about subjects in Latin. The nominative case in Latin is what is used for the subject. And so here I've highlighted our nominative case endings. In the first declension, the singular nominative case ending is a, and the plural is ae. In the second declension, the singular ending could be usr or and the plural is I. In the third declension, it could be anything, and you'll just memorize it in your vocabulary and memorize the word, you'll know what the nominative form is, and then it'll end in es for the plural. Okay, so let's do some subject identification practice. Okay, so looking at the subject, the sentence femina amat virum. Let's look at femina and virum are two nouns. Looking back at this slide right here, we see that virum is not a nominative ending, but a is. In that case, femina is our subject. Similarly, we have sorores and fratrum. We see that es is our third declension, nominative plural ending, but we don't see em anywhere here. For the next one, we see puellam, mater are two nouns. We see this am ending, and then mater. There is no am, and mater is mater matris. It's third declension. So it falls in that question mark category. And then filius, we have filius and filiam in that sentence. There's no am nominative ending, but we do see us ending in the second declension, singular nominative, so we know that filius is our subject. And then more examples, we have deliciae familiam are our two nouns. Looking back here, we see an ae in the plural nominative for first declension, but no, I think am was the other one? Yes. For the next one, vir and delicias, there is no as nominative ending. Vir from vir, viri, a second declension noun. That r ending falls within the nominative endings. So that vir is our subject. Then we have deliciam and familia. Okay, let's look back at our charts. Am is not a nominative ending, but a is a singular nominative first declension ending. So familia is our subject. And then finally, we have puellas and pueri are our two nouns in that sentence. We know pueri is our subject because if we look at this chart, puellas, as, is not a nominative ending, but pueri, I, is the plural second declension nominative ending. So that's how you identify a subject in Latin. Look back at these charts, find your nominative endings, and see whether the noun is following a nominative ending or not. Awesome, you've made it through the grammar presentation. So, for the to-do list of things that you should do after this, first of all, I want you to watch the vocabulary video And in that video, I'll also talk through more of like showing you how how nouns will be presented in your vocabulary and talking through that. And it's also really important that you spend about 10 minutes a day, at least, reviewing your vocabulary and making sure that you know the declension and the gender of each noun. Okay, and then complete your homework when you feel competent. Also, before you do that, there's a cheat sheet about nouns on Canvas that you can review, which is like notes and helps explain it. And then there's also other resources as well. You're welcome to ask questions in the chat or at the live meeting. And then once you're feeling good about that, you can complete the homework. It's a basic assignment that I really encourage you to do because it'll allow me to provide feedback and assess how you're doing in the class. So I really recommend that you find time to do the homework in the week. It's about 2 pages, but it's really not much work. I don't anticipate it taking you very long. So in that case, thank you so much for listening to the first grammar presentation. And once again, if you have any questions, please let me know in the Discord chat or send me an email or ask it in the live meeting. Gracias, Tibiago. Vale.
All right, I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope you recognize the value that Hannah is bringing to the Mythic Mind Fellowship and through the Mythic Mind Fellowship. All right, I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope you recognize the great value that Hannah is bringing to the Mythic Mind Fellowship. And so go ahead and enroll in her course, and if you're a patron, then you can get half off, and if you want to become a patron, you can get half off. And so you can find links to the Mythic Mind Patreon as well as to Hannah's store where you can enroll in the course in the show notes. And so I hope to see you there. But until next time, Godspeed.